A study done on drug and substance abuse in schools of Kampala and Wakiso found that 60 to 71% of students used illicit drugs or alcohol.
The challenge with marijuana is, even in the ghettos, when you're smoking it, people will tell you, oh, no, 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 this is not addiction. It's not like cigarette.
But what are some of the misconceptions about drugs and mental health? For example, there's a thing like only weak people get addicted.
Yeah.
Stigmatizing language. If someone said something like that,
Yeah.
that, you're weak or you're this or you're that. No.
How do we help these children with that? Because you said we can't force them.
You know, the most important conversation you probably have is with yourself.
Anyway, guys, welcome to Mind Your Head. My name is Canary Mugume and I'm here with Sheila Tusiime.
Definitely glad to be back here to share.
Issues mental health, everything you need to know. We're also sharing personal stories. And today we'll be talking about substance abuse or drug abuse. There's a lot happening lately. A number of young people are suffering. And I think it's important. It's about that time that we talk about substance abuse because mind your head, because it's all you've
You
got.
got.
All right. So today we have a guest, Chris Mugarura. Thank you for honoring our invitation.
Yeah, thank you, Canary and Sheila. I'm a bit of a fan as well.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
Okay.
yeah.
So maybe you could give us a brief background of what you're doing currently around mental health, and then we could begin from there.
Okay, I'm Christian Mugarura, and I'm a survivor of substance abuse disorders. I used to use substances myself for a very long time. Yeah, and then I recovered, and here I am today. I'm just sharing my story, hoping it would touch someone else and they also come out of the same cycle of abuse.
Yeah. So Sheila, did you know that in Uganda, more young people are being admitted for drug-induced psychosis than ever before?
Yes, and I think for me, the question there is what has changed in the times? Because, Christian, the drugs have been there, right? And they've been used by the youth. What has changed to increase that number to where we are at now?
Well, I think because, say, for me, the time when I was starting, this is about late 90s, early 2000s. The drug of choice was marijuana and, of course, what we call kachwiri, where you lace the marijuana with a bit of opium or thinner or whatever, just to make the high. But that was easily tracked. Like a parent could easily tell, oh, you're high, your eyes are red, your eyes are bloodshot, you're sleeping, this and that. So the new drugs of choice, I think it's because of how detectable or undetectable they are. They don't smell. It's hard to tell somebody is high. So the person can go about their day without you even realizing. So some of the symptoms are just nodding off, people nodding off, and maybe dilated pupils, maybe having like early psychosis where someone is not coherent, person is talking things that are not making sense. These are the signs that a parent would probably look out for.
Right.
Yeah, but they're not detectable.
They're not detectable.
Yeah.
So it lets the users be functional even when they're using them.
Yes, there are very many functional addicts. Yeah, so the challenge with that is if a person is making money, doing right by their family, this and that, or doing well in school. Even for me, I did very well in school while smoking weed. And I used to think it's the weed
That helps you.
that helped me,
Interesting.
you know, And for other people, it was sports. It was like, I need the weed to play this match. I need the weed to do this. Or even for creatives, I need the weed to maybe make a
Perform.
painting or perform in front of a large crowd. So I think going back to what you asked about, you know, why there are
More numbers today
more
than ever
numbers.
before.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's simply because I think even the influx of the drugs on the market it's also overwhelming because Uganda has become this route to Europe. From Brazil. I spoke to somebody who once traveled all the way to Brazil as a mule.
Wow.
Yeah, and lives here in Uganda. And went from Brazil, came to Uganda, then went to Italy. Yeah. And sorry.
Yeah, so Uganda is a transit country. Now, let's look at the numbers, maybe to just give it some perspective. A study done on drug and substance abuse in schools of Kampala and Wakiso found that 60 to 71% of students used illicit drugs or alcohol. 60 to 71%. That's concerning, Sheila. What's been your experience like amongst friends, relatives? What are you observing? Why did you suggested this topic?
Yes.
Why did you think this was very important to talk about?
I suggested this topic because I've heard stories of parents who are struggling with their children. These are children that are coming from well-to-do families that have been given everything. Some, of course, it's influence. They say it's influence. Some are they picked up from the people around them. But for me, as you treat these children, as you force them to get into treatment, my question is, for the ones you've interacted with, how did they get there and why did they think that that was the solution? Because before you force someone to Butabika, I think that you need to know why they are in that situation.
Okay, just a disclaimer. Now, Butabika no longer allows people who are not coming on their own. They have to be willing to come for treatment.
Oh,
Yeah.
so these things of let's force this person into rehab.
No, they no longer allow you
Why is that? What has changed?
because you influence the guys in there that
Oh.
are trying to actually get clean, who are there genuinely trying to get clean. Yeah. So that becomes a challenge for most of the rehabs around Uganda is that people are forced into a situation where they are not ready. Because we have a saying that many people need it, but you have to want it to be able to get it.
Okay.
Yeah. So just to answer your question again as to why, I don't know how those demographics, if they showed exactly the male and female ratio, but these have two different ways of getting into drugs. For the male, it's normally peer pressure, just wanting to fit in. But I also want to connect PTSD, trauma, to substance disorders because I've seen a lot of people go through trauma, whether it is subtle trauma, whether it is major trauma, just even losing a parent or parents separating or having money issues at home.
So you need something to cope with the trauma.
Yes, exactly. So that tends to fuel the need for the substances, because we all say all substances are bad, but why are people so tied to them?
Yes.
So one of the questions my counselor asked me personally when I was going through counseling,
Why?
like, don't tell me all this about drugs are bad. Tell me what's a good thing about what has kept you there so long. And I told him it's a companionship, it's a camaraderie. You know, when you're in a group, in a clique, you feel you belong. These guys have your back through thick and what?
And thin.
And thin.
Yeah.
We make vows. We fight together. We have these bar brawls. We used to have this, I don't know, there was beef between Ntinda and Bugolobi. I don't know if it's still there. But
Yeah, I could see it in the music, especially the hip hop music for the guys who
Yes.
make music hip hop. Then
even like us, we really didn't like Ntinda guys.
Why?
I don't know. Who are from Mugolobi. It was that's the thing. But like to look at that's the male part of it. So the men okay, the boys tend to want to be part of something. And for the girls, it's normally there's an influence of a boyfriend, of physiological kind of needs, losing weight, again, trying to be of a certain class or trying to be, they're trying to fit into something, something the boyfriend wants. And, for them, there's also the issue of the hormones, like the progesterone and the estrogen levels. So their ability to absorb these substances is way higher than what? Than
Yeah, the
boys. Yeah, so they get higher way faster than that. So they are much more vulnerable in that sense. Then at the same time, when it comes to recovery, they tend to recover faster. We see more cases of female
Recoveries
recovery
than the males. Why
than
is
the
that? Is
males.
it
Well, I think because of the upbringing, because the way women are raised, they are
Yeah.
told that they're the primary caregivers in the home. So a woman knows this from early childhood that she has to be, she's a mother. She's going to be, she has this huge role.
Responsibility.
Yeah, huge responsibility, which they take very seriously. So for us, the guys, it will always be now tied to fun in a way, like, either it's a soccer match, it's this, it's that, it's always tied to fun, trying to fit into a group, having fun. So they never really take it seriously. They think it's all, we're just making it fast.
There's something else I've heard concerning the ladies, that they use this to cope with their cramps during their menstrual cycle.
Yes, yes.
Is that true?
Yes, yeah. So a lot of the cases we see, especially with tramadol, I don't know if you've heard of tramadol
Yes.
use. So you find that most of those cases are female, and it's because of the cramps. Yeah.
Mm.
does
And
it
then
work?
Cramps.
Does it work, or it's just
Yeah.
just in the mind?
It's a very strong
No,
drug.
it's a very strong drug.
It's a painkiller.
It's a painkiller. I once met an imam addicted to tramadol, and he was like, I pray 5 times a day and it's not working, So there's also the whole spiritual
Yeah.
aspect of thinking, oh, this is just, it's an addiction, we'll just pray it away. But you actually need medical help. It's sort of like how we were in the COVID situation, where you had to actually get medical treatment for COVID, much as the churches and all these other spiritual religious groups around. Yeah, we have to take this seriously, just to inform people that, what, you need medical help once you have an addiction.
Right. Right, so this is what were you thinking, debunking some myths around substance abuse. Sheila, what are some of the misconceptions about drugs and mental health? For example, there's a thing like only weak people get addicted.
Yeah. I don't know how true that is.
Let's ask the expert.
Why the weak people?
Because it's how they say, because you're weak, that's how you get addicted.
I would think
If you're a
otherwise.
hard guy, you most probably wouldn't.
No,
But it's just a myth.
Yeah, but
That's what
I'd
I'm
also
saying.
think it's the hard guys because they're trying to remain hard, right?
Yeah.
I think that's stigmatizing language. If someone said something like that,
Yeah.
that you're weak or you're this or you're that. No, the drug is a chemical element, that's going to mix with other enzymes and chemicals in your brain and in your nervous system. So you really have no control over that. So once it's there, it's there.
Yeah.
So painkillers, even if you took ibuprofen right now, you stop feeling, whether it's a toothache or it's a headache, you stop feeling it because this goes straight to your nervous system and it inhibits your ability to feel this pain. So the same way the drug enters and interferes with your metabolic system, how you regulate your moods, and you suddenly have a feeling of euphoria.
Okay.
Whether you want it or not,
Yeah.
you will be happy.
Then, Sheila, have you had the people who defend marijuana say it's not addictive? Why do people keep fighting marijuana? But it's not addictive.
Yes, and they also say it's very good for our health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about that myth?
I smoked marijuana for 12 years. I can tell.
What?
No, yeah, it's way more addictive. And the challenge with marijuana is, even in the ghettos, when you're smoking it, people will tell you, "Oh, no, 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 this is not addictive. It's not like cigarettes." At the height of my addiction, I couldn't spend a day without at least 4 joints. 4 joints is like would be at the low end.
4 joints
Yeah,
minimum.
Yeah, minimum. Yeah. Now, if you let me be, I would smoke it the whole day, from morning
To evening.
to
Would
night.
you eat?
Well, eating comes secondary to, yeah, like
Once
that's
you get
like,
the
it's a
good
by the
feeling,
way, yeah.
once you get the good feeling, the eating does not matter.
It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
You eat when you like when there's hunger, but it's not a priority. Yeah. So it goes to talk about self-care, like what the program is about, which is literally it's an extreme form of neglecting yourself. Yeah.
First of all, from your studies, how do these drugs get into the schools? Because when we're taking children back to school, they are thoroughly checked. They say they have spot checks even in the dormitories. And so, from your research, how do these drugs get into the schools?
You know, someone told me they can hide the drug in the bread, the loaf of bread.
How
You dig a hole
innovative.
inside the loaf of bread and then hide the drug there.
I can tell you what we used to do.
Okay, let's hear from experience.
Okay.
Well, you don't need the needle,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
powdered milk.
Yeah.
So you fill like half of it with marijuana, and you fill the other half with the what?
Needle.
Needle.
With a needle. So at a certain point, people check, but they can only scoop so much. Then they're not seeing what's
Beneath.
down at the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah, we think that's enough to take you at least for a certain period through the what? Through the term. And nowadays I hear they're using things like gummy bears, cookies.
Yeah. Kids have gotten smarter,
Yeah.
and to a point that the drugs go undetected. Is Do you think that there are ways on how to
Yeah.
also look for smarter ways
To
on how
detect them.
Yeah, to detect. And we're just talking about kids, but even people
Even, yeah.
with corporate jobs and we
In
don't know when
offices.
in
and
offices.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I think the teachers need to be trained as to be able to detect somebody who is using drugs. Because even in our case in school, I would be as high as a kite in
And the
class,
teacher
and the
wouldn't.
teacher wouldn't know. And I would be quiet, and you would even just look at the back benches, and all of them are high.
Let's talk about the corporate class. People who are at their jobs, and because there's this myth that if you have a job and you function well, you don't have a substance abuse problem. It's a myth out there. But we all know they're, like you said earlier, functional addicts.
Yeah, even with, let's say, alcohol use disorders, which are probably more common with there's an issue of your health. So you could have multiple organ failure.
Failure.
I've had relatives pass away just like that. You see, the challenge with treating somebody with that sort of disorder and while they are functioning is that they believe while they're making the money, you cannot tell them, you cannot, they're almost unapproachable. So the person is, let me just give you a personal case that I tried. So I would meet the person and they're like, "Oh, Chris, you're here. Oh, I think you're broke. Let me give you 200K." Then they want to brush you away. They're like, "Oh, I have a meeting." But the person is not looking after their health. They're not going for regular checkups. They feel something in their body. Especially as men, we tend to brush health issues aside. We're like, "No, we're hard."
Yeah.
So the next thing you know, the person is collapsing on their own.
So you're saying HR officers in corporate offices need also to be trained
Yeah.
or introduce, I don't know,
To be able to approach
someone who is able to,
cases like that.
yeah.
'Cause-
Because unlike kids, these are adults.
Yeah.
You're,
It's
you're
harder
not,
to control them,
you're not
right?
going to come to me and tell me, this and that, like I'm, below 18. And also, they also become smarter in their ways. I've seen on TikTok someone puts a bottle of alcohol inside
The Stanley
the
Cup.
Stanley Cup. And they walk
I saw,
around with the Stanley Cup.
I
Think they're
saw that
drinking
one.
water.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Yeah.
So,
Lastly, before we go to our last segment, there's another myth that says you can stop anytime if you have the strong willpower. Is it entirely up to you sometimes?
It depends on the level of use, because people build tolerance over years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't start. I said with maybe 2 bells or 2 bell beers. By the time I was stopping, I was having a cocktail of drugs plus the liquors, just to have a normal day. So that ability to stop, it's a combination of the physical, the mental, and the spiritual.
Right.
It's advised that you go for detox, get the detox, then get the therapy, then maybe maintain the sobriety with spirituality. But that hard stop, even for opioid, especially now opioid users, she knows. She saw, I think, some of the videos
Yeah.
I'd sent. You get withdrawal symptoms and you fall sick, completely sick, like somebody who has malaria. So the person is vomiting, is diarrheating, can't stand up, body aches everywhere
Until they take something.
until they just take just a little. Then system
Functions normal.
functions normally. Yeah.
Interesting. All right, Sheila, let's go to our last segment.
yes. Before that, Canary, I just want, as we, how do we help these children without, because you said we can't force them, right? So how do we help them without forcing them, but actually helping them, and even the adults, the working adults?
Okay, for me, from what I see, the most important conversation you probably have is with yourself. So while speaking to these children, let's avoid using stigmatizing language. Let's avoid saying things like, "Why can't you just stop?" Why can't you just be like Canary? Canary stopped the other day, and these are the things people say to each other. Parents say to kids, let's try and understand the disease, because now addiction is a disease. It's categorized as a disease by the World Health Organization. So let's try to understand this disease. Try to use compassion rather than harshness. So if you talk to a person in a compassionate way, you'll realize that you're coming from a positive side of what things. You understand the disease, you understand what the characteristics of the disease are, and in that way they will also show themselves compassion.
But is it possible to also, as human beings, avoid triggers?
Yeah,
This would mean, for example, the places you hang out in would mean the people you hang out in that, for example, you're trying to heal. For them, they are not yet at the stage that you are at. But also, yeah, you could speak to us more about the triggers.
Well, triggers normally categorize them as people, situations, and places. So either it's a situation, someone can just be broke, that's a trigger. Someone can have money, that's a trigger.
So how do you avoid having money?
Just have enough, not broke, not too much.
So they are there.
Someone someone could have a friend they're really attached to, or it could be a sex relation. Like maybe a boyfriend or a girlfriend. I've seen couples that use together, it's very dangerous. Or a family member, that two family members use together. Or you could look at a place, maybe because the surroundings of the place, there are so many maybe happening places, as we would call that. But the way to, recover is about safety. It's about being safe. So the way to cope is, the way to avoid triggers is by creating very positive coping mechanisms. Have a list of people. For example, if someone loses a job, you have to, okay, I don't know, like a corporate class, you could have a list of friends and family that you could talk to. at least every week that you could truly talk to.
So Chris, the other thing around I think practical self-care hacks is how to approach a loved one struggling with addiction or substance abuse. How do you do that?
Yeah. Because some of them, like our loved ones, you have talked to them and they've
and over
tried
again.
and then they go back, they try. And then you have some parents saying,
I
I've
gave up
tried
on
with
that
this
one.
child. I've really tried my best. So at that point, what is the next step?
Okay. Um, First of all, you have to understand recovery is a journey. It's like if you had somebody with cancer, you're not going to say, "Oh, we have tried all this and now we have stopped." The cancer is still what? Still there. So we have to look at it in that sense. Like you have to keep going back to hospital with this person until they're what?
You recover.
Okay, yeah. Because if you had cancer, you wouldn't say, "No, okay, uh, we have tried our best. The person still has cancer. Let's stop." Even if you had the best psychiatrists and the best psychologists and the best counselors, sometimes that doesn't work. So the person has to keep trying, trying. And of course, with support groups as well. Uh, Even for the families, there are support groups that help families that have people with substance abuse disorders. So the families don't feel like they're alone in that struggle.
Okay. So lastly, where does one begin? I'm sure there are people watching this podcast and are saying, you know what, I am at that point, but I don't know where to begin, what to do. Where does one begin? Where does one go? How does one start to the journey of recovery?
Well, as Adam, you know, I'm part of a group. I'm the leader of a group, the anti-drug and alcohol abuse movement. This was started in a rehab by addicts who are in recovery, and we're a resource center. So you could come to us, or you go to our website, www.adam.ug. Pick one of the numbers there. Give me a call, and
What is Adam?
Adam is anti-drug and alcohol abuse movement.
Okay.
Yeah. So decided by people in recovery. Yeah.
How many people have recovered since you started this group?
Well, I can't put an exact number to it, but we've
Because recovery
supported,
is a process.
yeah, we've supported
And ongoing.
quite a number because we have group therapy meetings. So people, you see, with recovery, there's also the relapse. So if someone relapses, especially with opioid use disorders, you don't count that. For alcohol, you could count it, but for opioids, no, whatever time spent sober is a win for us. That's the way we look at it.
Sheila, your
Okay.
parting shot.
My parting shot is that I hope people, there are people struggling out there that don't want maybe the public to know, or their family or friends. I hope they come out and get help. Yeah.
All right, guys, we appreciate your feedback. Tell us what you think about this particular episode or give us your personal story. I know that many people out there are struggling with the same. If you need help, feel free to reach out and we'll at least find ways on how to get in touch with Chris here. You can join www.adam.ug, right, for a support group, and you sure will have a way to start your recovery journey. Thank you so much and catch you in the next episode.
See you.